Hey guys, welcome back to Halo RV. Here, just got a Midwest Photo, in Columbus, Ohio. Picking up a telephoto lens because I want to be able to have that extra reach. So it's the Sigma 150 to 600. I'm gonna try and get it out later today. Good day today for some photos. So I'll just take you guys along. So let's get right in. So I don't know, I'm looking at some of these. I like the way this one looks. These camera bags are expensive though. I like this one, but I don't really see a good option for using a tripod. Putting a tripod on that one. This one looks like it's meant to handle one, and then also the big Sigma lens is actually able to be fit in here pretty well. This big compartment here is really nice, so I'd be able to fit it right there, and then other lenses and accessories in here, pretty well done. Not big on the green, but it kind of blends in because I'll be doing more wildlife photography, so I think this one will be pretty suitable. It's pretty rugged material. It's got the waist straps though. I don't know if I like those too much or not, but not bad to have. I think this big guy right here, but this sucker costs like, what is it? $309. I mean, I guess if you really need it, but it has lots of ample space to it. I was looking at this one because this one was only, $119. Fits most of my needs, but this one, $150. But I think this one would actually fit all the needs I have for in the near future. Not doing this as a career, so it's not as big of a deal. Definitely gonna have to go with this guy, a Mindshift backlight 18, I think for 18 liters. Pretty nice though. Probably have to do some kind of video on this as well. Alrighty, so here it is. Thing's absolutely beautiful. Fits nice in the bag, nice and snug. I am looking forward to using this. So yeah, 150 to 600 millimeter. I've never had a lens this telephoto, so it's gonna be great for nature photography on my days off. It's gonna be amazing. So all right, let's just keep her going. All right, since I'm in town, I'm gonna swing by some family and might go get some sushi or something, but it's such a beautiful day out in October, so I think today's going to turn out to be a really nice day and get some good photos, and I definitely want to get some of my first impressions down on this new lens. I know it's going to be good, but see like if I can find any flaws in it, any differences from what I've seen other people saying online on what they like and dislike of the lens, and whether or not you think it's something that you would want as well. Because I've heard lots of good things, heard some bad things. We'll see what I experience. Friday, so I'm out here down by my local pond and been getting actually some nice little shots of some ducks. And it's a good test for the new lens. And so I'm just set up right here. And the zoom on this thing's really, really nice. I took like a quick little test video I'll probably put in the video as well. But, I mean, as you can see, really nice. So I'll show you how some of those photos turn out here in a bit. Alright, so it's actually day 2. Got Stella with me, and so really nice day, and I'm gonna try and get by the water's edge here, see if I can get any shots of some birds or squirrels, see if there's anything in the water. But here, look at this big boy on here. It's definitely interesting. Haven't had a lens this big before, so. But see how the leaves are finally changing colors. Looks really nice. So I'm out here just chilling out. Got a couple nice photos of some birds flying by. Every once in a while they start coming. Stella decided to get all wet. And thankfully I think I have a towel in my car, but yeah, she could not resist the water. So I'll probably play some quick little video I took of her in the water. Oh boy. I really did not want you to get wet, but here we are. Yeah, good girl. Yeah, like over there's a bird. So they just kind of keep on going up and down the lake here. Got some nice shots of some, I believe they were just ducks flying in a group. But yeah, so far this lens it's doing exactly what I bought it for, which is taking some wildlife photos, giving me that extra reach that I didn't have before. It's nice. I mean, it's heavy. I'll have to probably do more of an in-depth review. Focusing, I didn't really have too much of a problem focusing. Some of it's also the camera trying to decide what's in focus, what's not. So it has some of that focus breathing. I was trying to get like a picture of the squirrel. You don't want like any leaves or anything kind of in the way, or it'll start picking up those. Oh, here she goes again. Good girl. Get that stick. You get that stick. Fetch it up. Yep. Oh, see, that's neat. There's a what kind of bird that is, hard to tell from here. Again, great opportunity. I'm still trying to learn, figure out what some good spots are for capturing some wildlife. But here at this park, they got like campgrounds and stuff, and then they have just a really nice lake, and seems like there's a decent bit of action. So I plan on coming out here in the winter, and nope, hold on. All right, I'm back. So now there's a bird flying by. I wanted to get a couple photos of. Taking a lot of photos. It's different. So I'm gonna have to sort through a whole bunch of photos, see what turn out really sharp and what don't. But not too many complaints, especially for the price of the lens. You definitely can get your value out of it, and that's an important thing. And then I've seen videos. I don't have like the Canon 200 to 600 or the Sony 200 to 600, but from what I've seen in images, they both take about the same images. It's just more of like, some of it's like the aesthetics of having an extendable zoom lens or an internal zoom lens, and so maybe if that's something you're considering, you would want to go with the Sony. But this one, what's nice is closer focus distance. I mean, I think it's only like a couple feet at its minimum. And then with the Sony 200 to 600, which is pretty much a comparable lens to this, you're looking at like 7 feet is the closest you're able to focus on something. And plus with this lens, you get the extra 50 millimeters to play around with. Capture more of the scene. I've already found that a little bit helpful too. When I was taking video of Stella, the 150 was great. So I could actually have her in the full picture because she was too close. Probably be out here for a little bit more, and then I'll probably sit behind the camera or something when I get back home, and maybe just kind of give some more of my thoughts. If there's any questions or anything you guys have on the lens, I can go more in depth. This isn't really a professional video. I'm not a professional, but I'm just kind of going through my own experiences, and it's a good excuse for me to go outside in nature just with Stella here. But I'm gonna swap out my battery, and I'm gonna give her some fresh water here. Yeah, and I'll see you guys in a bit. Alrighty guys, so just got back, been a long day, but a good day. So got to take out this thing. This is also the sport lens. I know they have like a contemporary, and then they have another sport lens, I think for DSLRs. But this is for the Sony E-mount. But I'll just go ahead and kind of go off the cuff here. Not completely too scripted or anything, but my first impressions, well, it's a learning curve. And I'm not necessarily a professional or anything. I'm a hobbyist, and so I have experience, but I don't do photography for a living. So taking out this lens, the first thing I guess I noticed was, I want to say like the size and like the weight, but that's kind of like a given. I mean, you're not really used to using a lens this big normally, unless you plan on doing wildlife, sports, other things that involve using a longer lens, unless you're using like a teleconverter, but you lose some of the details when you're using one of those, and so that's why I opted to go with this. Beginner mistakes on some of the photos. I don't know if I'll probably be putting up some photos here and there. Some of the photos turned out really good, but some of the things that I didn't anticipate enough was setting the right shutter speed. And that's something where if you're using one of these, it does have on the side, it does have optical stabilization, and there's two different modes. So mode 2 on it is
going to be for panning. So especially for what I was doing, and I didn't utilize this fully. I still need to go out some more and do some more bird photography or animals in general. But the stabilization, it'll stabilize, I believe, up and down, but side to side it won't stabilize, because if you're panning, it's not going to be going left and right when you're trying to focus on that image. And then which the mode that I was using the most was more for just the handheld. And I think all of the shots, and the exception for some of the ducks in the water that you guys might have already seen, or maybe I'm going to put those up as I'm talking now, those were done on a tripod. But the rest of them were just handheld, and the image stabilization in this is really good. I don't know if my camera also has, so I have a Sony a7R4, and it has in-body image stabilization, but I don't know if it's necessarily working together with this lens. But regardless, it's good. It makes a noticeable difference, especially when you're fully extended to 600 millimeters. I mean, this thing, I mean, it's huge. You're trying to balance it, but every little movement you make is going to be noticeable. So the image stabilization is definitely a must. And I think it did a pretty good job of mitigating any kind of movement. But definitely the shutter speed on some of the bird photos I could have done a better job at. I had some that were way too low, like 1/500th, but then I have others that were like 1/1000th or more, and those tend to be better. But then you also gotta worry about some of the ISO noise that happens, but I wouldn't really be too concerned about that, especially if you're using Adobe software. And I just use the basic version of Lightroom. Their denoising technology that they have on there is amazing, so you're able to eliminate most noise just by using the software. So that's not too much of an issue for me, because I'm going to go back and preview the images. In terms of the aperture in this, so it goes from 5 to 6.3, and the only benefit of that is that you're not gonna have to be as picky when it comes to setting your aperture, because it's already a bigger aperture or smaller aperture. I mean, you know what I mean, the less and less light, so you're gonna have less of like the bokeh, but the depth of field is not gonna be as substantial as what it is with a higher aperture. So instead of going with like a 2.8, which those lenses get really expensive, and it's good. I mean, let in more light, it's generally a good thing. But the benefit of having it kind of already being a higher aperture, being able to get a decent depth of field without having to mess with your aperture as much, is a little bit of a benefit in its own way. But it hurts in the other way, where you have to compensate the less light it brings in with higher ISO or slower shutter speed. And when you're doing birds, as I quickly learned, is you need to have a substantial shutter speed when you're doing the photos. And then you want to take a decent bunch of photos. I took I think over 200 photos probably just today. So I'm going to go through, and then I'm only going to have a handful of reasonable images. Now there was one, and I don't know if I put it up in the video or not, how I'm going to do this, but there was a squirrel with a nut in its mouth on top of this tree, and it's super sharp. the lens did a phenomenal job. The autofocus had no problem, and it just did great. And I love the depth of field that it has, and the overall quality. The only problem I have now, I got this lens used, really good condition. I mean, no marks or anything on the top of the lens or the back. And maybe one of you guys in the comments can let me know, but if you listen, if you do it really fast, you get that squeak. And I don't know the best way to go about eliminating that, but if you do it slowly, that's fine. Maybe if I did a different tensioner setting, because there are 3. Yeah, still does it a little bit, but it does have 3, so I guess that's something. And I can do a more in-depth video. This is just like my first impressions, but it does have 3 different switch settings for the tension. So it has, I think S is for smooth, and that just makes it really nice and easy. But you got to keep in mind, if you're having this down at your side, it's going to extend. With it being on T, which is for tight, it'll kind of work its way out, but you have to really kind of shake it, and it takes a minute. So, and it's just firmer around that. And then it has a locked mode, so if you're just walking, you don't want it to eventually work its way out longer, you can just put it on unlocked, which is L. But no, really good, really fun to use. I think the most enjoyable part of it was being able to just have this day off of work, go out into the woods with my dog, and just kind of hike some trails and get some photos of some birds, different kinds of birds, you know, squirrels, the trees. The trees right now look just really, they're gonna get even better here, excuse me. They're gonna get even better here because it's just the beginning of fall, and you know, they're turning yellow, got some trees turning red, and so the leaves just it makes for very scenic view. Cons are, you are going to be missing out on having the larger aperture that you will in some other lenses. Depending on how you look at it, another con could be that it extends. It's not an internal zoom lens, because the lens that you're going to be the lens that you're going to be mainly comparing this to is most likely going to be the 200 to 600 millimeter Sony lens. Internal zoom, 200 to 600, you get some different variables. I think earlier I talked a little bit about some of like the little differences. I like the extra reach you have on this. This guy's also cheaper. But in terms of image quality, and if you're watching any other videos on this when it comes to this lens versus Sony's 200 to 600, the image quality, I mean, you can't tell a difference. I mean, it's I don't know, maybe you have to have some kind of very particular eye for it or something, but in terms of like chromatic aberration, or however you pronounce it, or different light effects and things, they're not that prevalent in this lens or the Sony lens. The way this fits onto the camera, it's not as tight of a fit when it clicks into place as what it is with, say, my Tamron lens that I'm filming on right now. That lens does a better job of like feeling like when it's mated to the body of the camera, it just feels a lot sturdier. I don't know if that's just something with Sigma or what to use lens, but again, and I recommend buying used. You can get this for a lot less, and even less on other cameras that use this lens. The Nikon and Sony versions of this lens are much cheaper, and depending on when you're watching this video, you're going to maybe see prices decrease a little bit. Granted, like the MSRP of this lens is going to be the same throughout most of its lifespan. I mean, it hasn't changed in the past like 5 years, but you are still getting a really good solid piece of glass that performs the way you want it to perform. And an amateur like me, when it comes to bird photography, this is something that's great to learn on. You're not breaking the bank. I mean, lenses are expensive, and that's why you want to make sure that when you're getting something, it's going to be able to suit your needs. And this, to me, suits my needs, and I look forward to probably doing more videos down the road of this lens and what I've been able to find out or do. And the sharpness that this lens gives is pretty good. There was a little bit of, and this is also me kind of learning, is there was a little bit of a less sharpness when it came to some of the birds I was photographing, but I think some of that's also because I was using too low of a shutter speed. I mean, some of the bird photos that I got, I was shooting at, I wasn't even paying attention, I was shooting at like 1/500th of a second, which normally is fine for like stills and in most circumstances, but when you're taking photos of birds, that's, you want at least 1,000 and then more, depending on what kind of birds you're going to be photographing. So definitely a learning curve. It's different than shooting on, say, my Tamron 28-200. That's a great lens, and I actually plan on doing a video on that. So if you haven't already, or you're interested at all, subscribe and let me know what you guys kind of want to see. I don't really have much else to say when it comes to this lens. It does everything that I would want it to. Comes in at a decent price. It's a learning curve, but it gets me outdoors, it gets me outside and enjoying nature, and I plan on taking this out into different climates. Winter's soon approaching, and I plan on taking this out in really cold weather, and snow, rain, whatever. I want to have this out there, and I want to put it to the test and see how rugged it actually is over long-term use. And if that's something you're interested on hearing more about with this lens down the road, definitely subscribe. I think that's about it. Little bit of rambling. I know I can digress a little bit on some stuff, so not a whole professional thing. I mean, this clip is pretty much all just done kind of off the cuff, but it's good. I plan on doing hopefully like around like one video a week, just mainly focusing on photography right now, but there are other things that I wouldn't mind doing as well. But photography is a good hobby to get into if you're new into photography and you're new into this sort of thing. If you have any questions, definitely leave them down below. But it's one of those hobbies that you can learn to perfect, and there's an art to it, especially when you're trying to get certain kinds of aesthetics in your photographs. And a good example, again, I don't know in post-production if I would have already showed this image or not, but doing certain things like having your foreground blurred using tree branches and leaves, and having your subject, which in this case it was Stella on this bridge, and it looked great. The effect that it gave to just focusing on her, but then you had these blurs, was just amazing. And I guess a quick note is what's nice about some of these lenses that you might not be familiar with, if you haven't ever owned one of these lenses, is it has a So it has 3 different zoom modes. So if you're doing something up really close, you would have it with within 10 meters, and then it has a setting for 10 meters to infinity, and then it has full, which is both. And the reason you might want to use 10 meters to infinity is that if you're sitting behind a fence and you are trying to focus on something on the other side of the fence, you don't want it focusing on the fence, you want it to focus on your subject. And so you would switch that to your 10 millimeter or 10 meters to infinity, and that would give you it will prevent you from focusing on the fence that's closer to you, anything within 10 meters. And I can find that helpful in some situations. And yeah, so that's gonna be it. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate you guys commenting and kind of going along with me on some of my. I can definitely do probably some more like professional kind of stuff or whatever, going through more of like an organized format, but I kind of like just going out, this is what I'm doing, and if I can share an experience with other people and inspire other people to go out and do other things, I think that's very important. Same old thing as lots of other YouTubers say, they're just subscribe, comment, or like the video, let me know what you think I can do better. Criticism's okay, it's fine. You can say what you want. And yeah, so I will see you guys in the next one. Again, thanks for watching, and yeah, have a good rest of your week, good rest of your month, or no, hold on, I messed up. Have a good rest of your day, have a good rest of your week, have a good rest of your month. Have a good one.